What's up, guys? Today we are continuing in our worship pedalboard series on delays. This is something I get asked about a lot, about different settings and applications and techniques and things that I do regarding my timeline. So that's what we're going to look at today. Let's jump in. One of the biggest ways guitarists get creative is through the use of delays. Some guitarists are practically known for their crazy effect use. When someone mentions a dotted eighth delay, my mind instantly goes to U2 and The Edge. Delays are a must on any worship guitarist board. Oftentimes, lead lines can sound boring or empty without delay. But that being said, too much delay can wash out a line and you'll lose clarity. There's a line we walk in the delay world, much like the line we talked about in our amp and drive video. Too much or too little can have a profound effect on our tone. If you clicked on this video, you either know all about delays or you're looking to explore this world a little further. But before we jump into any pedal, we need to talk some theory and delay mechanics. If you already know all about how delay works and things like beat division, you're not gonna hurt my feelings by just skipping ahead to the time on the screen. A basic description of delay is that it captures the audio source and time shifts it or delays it by a preset or user determined amount of time, then plays it back to the listener. In order to truly understand how delay works, we must have an understanding of rhythmic notation. Without getting too technical here, pretty much every delay pedal out there has the capability to perform different rhythmic patterns, from really quick slapback sounds to dotted eighth and quarter note patterns, and everything in between. Starting at the most basic beat, a quarter note in a time signature of 4/4 gets one beat. If I set my metronome at 90 beats per minute, meaning this device is going to click 90 times in 1 minute, then a single quarter note is represented by one of those 90 clicks. An eighth note is exactly half of a quarter note, so half a beat. At 90 beats per minute, an eighth note clicks 180 times. We notate this rhythm using and beats. So if a quarter note receives the number beats, then eighth notes will receive the and beats in between each number. The last rhythmic notation is probably the most popular rhythmic pattern in worship music right now, and that's the dotted eighth. It's this iconic sound that kind of replicates this galloping rhythm and creates the illusion that we're playing 16th notes. Anytime a dot is used in rhythmic notation, then whatever beat value the dot is attached to will receive exactly half of that beat in addition to its original rhythmic value. An easy example would be a dotted quarter note. A normal quarter note receives one beat, like we've already discussed. A dot adds half of whatever beat it's attached to. So take 1/2 and add it to the quarter note. The total value of that beat is now 1.5. A 16th note gets 1/4 of a beat, so a dotted eighth is 1/8 note plus 1/16 note for a total of 3/4 of a beat. Before we go any further, I want to give you a chance to hear my dry tone. I'll be using a couple of overdrives here and there, and those are a JHS Morning Glory and a Bondi Effects Del Mar. If you want to see how those are set in more detail, you can find that in our Setting the Amp and Drive Pedals video that we put out a few weeks ago. So here is my dry tone. Now that we have a basic understanding of rhythm, let's talk delay mechanics. The simplest delays are comprised of essentially three main controls: a delay/time control, a feedback/repeat control, and a level/mix control. This is the Strymon timeline. It's pretty much the standard delay pedal out there right now, and can shape any facet of your delay tone. So the delay slash time parameter is what controls the distance between each repeat. Most pedals have what's called a tap tempo, meaning that you can manually tap in the tempo to match the exact BPM of the song. However, some have no tap tempo at all and use a knob to control the milliseconds between each beat to fine-tune the repeat time. Secondly is the feedback slash repeats parameter. This is how many repeats happen before tailing off. The higher the parameter, the more repeats will be heard. Lastly is the mix parameter. This controls the level of your delay in relation to your dry signal going into the pedal. A level of 50% means that the delay would be the exact same volume as the initial note being played. If I set the mix parameter at 100%, then all you would hear are the repeats and no dry signal at all. The biggest thing about a pedal like the Timeline is that it has so much versatility. I can shape and control pretty much any parameter that I want. And one of the biggest controls is the delay type. The Timeline has 12 different types of delay to choose from, but in my mind there are essentially 3 delay types that are the most widely used in music today. First is the analog slash bucket delay. These are very warm sounding delays. They tend to have a natural decay as the notes repeat, but can have that old vintage lo-fi sound as well. The high end kind of rolls off as the delays repeat. Secondly is digital delays. Digital delays are a more modern take on the analog delay, essentially taking all the flaws from the analog delay and fixing them. Each repeat being that exact same crystal clear, perfect sound. Digital delays play back exactly what you put into them. And thirdly is the tape delay. In my opinion, this is my personal favorite. The tape delay on the Timeline is like a blend of analog and digital to my ears. It kind of sits right in the middle of the two. Tape delays they have a lot of tonal artifacts in them, but to my ears, the repeats sound the most organic. The big question I want to take a closer look at today is when to use a dotted eighth delay versus an eighth or a quarter note delay. Now first let me say that there is no 100% correct answer to that question, but here's the way I see it. Quarter note delays are great for spacious strumming, so I don't generally use those for lead lines. I like to keep the mix lower as it's just kind of filling that empty space without adding a secondary rhythm. I use eighth note delays on lead lines that have a less spacious, busier feel. They're also useful for arpeggios and creating a fuller picking sound. When I'm playing heavier chords, strumming all downstrokes, eighth note delays can give me a little bit of extra momentum. My thought process is the same though. Just like quarter note delays, the mix is usually around that 35% range and tail off after 1 or 2 repeats. An example of eighth note delay would be something like the intro and verse of God of the Promise by Elevation Worship. Lastly is the king of delay rhythm. Dotted eighth note rhythms continue to reign supreme in most worship music today. These delays make lead lines sound way more complicated and create the illusion that we're way better guitar players than we actually are. It's the most recognizable delay rhythm out there and the most widely used, where quarter note delays and eighth note delays create more of a blend. Dotted eighth creates momentum and this continued forward motion. Anytime I use dotted eighth, it's to complement the original rhythm. The mix is set closer to 50% as I want those repeats to stand out, and my feedback is a little bit higher before tailing off. Something like the intro of Open Up the Heavens or Do What You Want To by Vertical Worship are great examples. Delay can not only spice up your lead playing, but your rhythm playing as well. Where delay really shines is in palm muting, staccato scenarios where the electric is responsible for the momentum of the song. So if I played something like straight 16th notes while palm muting, maybe under a verse or something, then I click on a dotted eighth delay and your delay pedal has something like a modulation effect built in, you can simulate a sound like your guitar is double tracked. For a tone like this, you would turn up the modulation level and the depth so that the repeats kind of waver in and out of pitch by just a couple of cents. Another great way delays can take your rhythm playing to the next level is on syncopated rhythmic lines, something like the rhythm guitar part of Do What You Want To. You can use a dotted eighth delay to add a second rhythm to play off the syncopation that's actually happening in that line. Delay can be an amazing thing, but too much delay and suddenly you have a huge problem. If your mix is turned up too high or your feedback is set for too many repeats, then it will be a rhythmic disaster. And the one technique where that can easily become a problem is dual delays. Dual delays can work in two facets, either in series or parallel. The timeline can do both. If I scroll over to my dual settings, these controls on the front panel are controlling all the parameters for delay unit 1. When I click on the value, which is the configure knob, I am now controlling the parameters for the second delay unit. You see the time, repeats, and the mix level. Series means you are stacking two delays with one going into the other, just like stacking drive pedals. So not only is your dry signal going into the second delay unit, but so are the repeats from the first unit. This can sometimes actually substitute reverb for swells. It can also be used to accent beats, like setting your first delay to 16th notes and sending that into your second unit that is set at dotted eighth notes. I'd use a setting like that to give me a layer under my strumming, kind of like a short reverb. Parallel means the two delays are completely independent, with each having its own unique rhythm, unaffected by the other. The most popular dual setting I use is an eighth note against a dotted eighth note. Phil Wickham's Great Things uses this setting throughout the entirety of the song. You can use dual delays like this interchangeably with just a regular dotted eighth. It works great for either staccato or legato sections and really fills out the space around your dry signal. Just be careful with your levels so that it doesn't wash out your dry signal at all. If you're playing in a smaller band without the use of tracks or loops, I'd actually recommend the use of dual delay more often than just a regular dotted eighth. It can really help the overall sound of your band as it fills out those gaps. But if you're using tracks and have a lot of frequencies being taken up, I'd shy away from duals as it has the potential to step on other things that are going on. You need to be picky about when you want to shine. Listen to the other instrumentalist. Find that pocket and be spacious. Ask yourself, what can I add here that doesn't infringe upon the rest of the band? All of these settings I talked about today can and do fluctuate slightly from song to song, but for the most part, this gets me in the ballpark every time. That being said, delay is completely subjective. What I've gone through today has been techniques that I've observed over years of playing with some of the best worship leaders in the world, in my opinion. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with some really great and very talented musicians who know way more than me. And part of my job here at my church is to build the Ableton sets each week, so I spend a lot of time isolating and listening to each individual instrument from song to song in the multi-track, and that has helped me out greatly as a guitarist. All right, guys, that's all we've got time for today. This is the third video we've released in our Worship Pedalboard series. If you want a whole overview of my board, you can find that on our page, or if you want more information on how to set your drives or your amp, you can find that on our channel as well. Do us a huge favor though and like this video. Make sure you're subscribed. We've got a lot of great things coming in the future and we're excited to share them, including the next video in this series, and that's on reverb and swells. We would love to connect further with you over on our Instagram at Current Worship Collective. If you have any questions, we're always looking to help out, so just drop a comment below and we'll catch y'all next time.